we all wait for them to cast us. And that's cool, and maybe we'll get lucky. But I think that doing it ourselves, like Matt and Ben, as we were talking about earlier, giving it to ourselves is really the move, and not waiting for them, waiting around for them. And maybe it comes. Maybe it hurls through the universe and lands on your lap. And I hope that for everyone here, that's the thing. But I think putting it into motion for you is the move.
Listen, we're actually quite literally here for you, because I was going to make a joke at the beginning, that idea of, a shoe is only a shoe until someone steps into it. But I feel like a role is only lines on paper until Chris Messina embodies it. Now that I've embarrassed you and made you blush, let's get into it. Tell me a little.
Such a cool room. Hey, guys. It's the last screening here, yeah. But they're going to be up in the penthouse, and it's going to be... So we're looking for... I'm the last one. Let's do it right tonight. Shut it down.
We expect a mic drop level performance. So some potentially screaming, some improvising. Tell me a little bit about David Falk. Yes, actually, I'm going to join you in that.
Well, David Falk is probably the only thing we had in common is we're both from Long Island. He's a lot smarter than me. He's taller than me. He doesn't have as much hair as I have. But he was, it was just a great role to play. I read his book called The Bald Truth, which was really kind of instrumental in finding out how to play him. He had, like Michael, he had just a huge role model in his life, which was his mother. She was a brilliant woman, spoke a bunch of different languages, and she instilled in him never settle for second best. And so kind of, the jumping off point was anybody that could hang with Michael Jordan. Michael's whole career had to be just as intelligent, just as talented in other ways, and just as competitive. So that was really the start of it.
How does that then, affect your process as you're, okay, we've read the book, we've kind of found this nugget. Then what is next for you?
Fear. Tons of fear. A lot of anxiety. But the script was great. I mean, it's a really great script. It was kind of all there for me, And when you're surrounded by, but we're all a bunch of actors here tonight, right? Yeah. So you guys know. It's like when you're surrounded by great people, they make you better. So when you're being directed by Ben Affleck and you're talking to Matt Damon and you're shot by Bob Richardson and Billy Goldenberg's editing you, they just kind of get rid of all your bullshit, it was just an awesome experience.
Even knowing that the fear was coming, though, you pretty much said yes to Ben the minute he texted you, right? This, of course, is your third film with Ben Affleck after Argo and Live by Night. So it kind of just was like, hey, I have a role. And then you just say, sure, I'll be there on Wednesday.
Yeah, you don't need to read it. You're just like, when do you need me? The thing about, and I'm sure everybody here would recognize this, when you get offered a part, it's a great feeling, but then it's the responsibility of, is Ben behind the monitor thinking, why did I give this to Chris? So there's kind of that, but when he calls, you just run. Like I said, he surrounds himself with the greatest players in the business, and he has such a high cinematic IQ. He's been doing this for so long. He knows what he wants. He knows how to cast. He knows how to talk to actors. He knows where to put the camera. And when he ends up happy with what you're doing, you drive home feeling a little better about yourself.
Well, before we get to you driving home from set, let's talk about you getting there first. So we actually have a question here from Melissa about how you prepared for the role, talking a little bit about the research, the rehearsals, the script analysis. We'll take those one at a time. But obviously the book was a big part of it to start.
Yeah. Where's Melissa? Hi, Melissa. Yeah, I read the book. I watched a bunch of interviews. I begged Ben to during this period, David Fox's hair was not bald but going back, and I had begged him to do that. And we did a camera test, and they got an actor. This sweet man came in, and they paid him to do this, and they took his hair back little by little. He started off very nice, and then he got grumpy along the way, rightly so. And I was in my suit, and we were doing the test, and Ben came over to me, and we did this movie, Live by Night, yes. And he said, "You looked so terrible in that movie. I think for this, you should look better." And he's like, "Michael Douglas, Wall Street, let's slick your hair back." They built the Nike office not too far from my house, and down the hallway they built my office. So I had the luxury of going to the office when I wasn't shooting or before I ever begun, and I just would go kind of step by step with the set deck, saying, I want nuts here, or I want a picture of my mother here, and I would do those phone calls kind of walking around the office with a friend on speakerphone. And so by the time I shot those scenes, the office was mine, and they were all visitors in that office. So but that's a luxury to have, often we walk in, they're like, "This is your office, this is your phone, and that wasn't the case. I was kind of telling them that I want whiskey, vodka, I was telling them what I wanted.
Real quick, did you strategically place the sword then?
They showed me the sword, and I said, they said, "Do you want this?" I said, "Yes, put it on the desk where there might be a time for it." And then I used it that one time, and it's in the movie.
Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, that is the freedom that Ben gave you all in this film. But it's also just one of those moments that has now kind of become a trademark of this performance. What all of those great improvisations. What I don't even know if you can remember what caused you to pick up the sword in that moment. But what were you thinking?
I think a little bit of what I was saying, that Ben had, so we shot those phone calls at the same time, which sounds so simple, but I've done 1 million phone calls, and I've never done them that way, where Matt was down the hallway, I was the other side. We each had 3 cameras on us, so we could overlap and improvise. It's just such a great idea, because I think those same phone calls without that would be a lot less interesting. So yeah, I remember that Ben came in, and again, you're thinking he's sitting by the monitor wondering why he cast me, and he was happy, and he said, "Do whatever you want," and let's do one more, "Do whatever you want," and that's kind of music to our ears, right? We're like, okay, our shoulders drop, we're like, we could just let it fly. And that's a character that you can do that with, And a lot of the nerves that I had, whenever you're screaming and yelling, it's a good place to put all that nervous energy,
And part of that too, as you mentioned, the rehearsals. There was a lot of time in which you and Matt and Ben kind of worked through these lines at the beginning as well. Tell me a little bit about that process.
I was trying to be cool. I've known Matt for a little bit. I had 3 lines in this movie called Rounders. You remember that movie? Yeah, 3 lines. I had 3 around a poker table, and the director came in front of everyone and said, "I'm going to take 2 of those lines and give them to this guy." And I was like, so pissed and embarrassed, but then I was like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. I only have 3, now I have 1. But I knew Matt a little bit from then, and I'd worked with Ben a bunch of times, but to be in a room with these two guys. I remember seeing Good Will Hunting at the Angelica Theater when it first came out, and I loved their performances, and I was in awe that as actors we could write things and put them on and get them done. It was so foreign to me. So to be in a room with them, I was trying to be cool, but I kept thinking, like, these are the guys that did Good Will Hunting. Like, how did I end up here with them? And so it was great fun. They're super smart. Again, the script really works, but they're great writers. So they, little adjustments here and there, and we were off.
Really wanting to encourage that, because what is pretty amazing about this ensemble is that it is full of filmmakers as well. Pretty much everybody has produced and directed, like you have, of course. What is it like to be able to be working with this ensemble that you all have this variety of a skill set, and everybody can kind of tweak things here and there and riff, and it's this is a dream team right here.
Yeah, it's a deep bench of folks. I mean, to look across the table into Viola Davis's eyes, I think that was kind of amazing because there was no ego especially between Matt and Ben. They were just like, they obviously have a love and a history, but the best idea won. And Jason Bateman's a director, and it's his sets are run very much like a family. A lot of the crew members have been there, and so the best idea won. And I think that the best directors kind of can roll that way. I think I got to work with Sam Mendes, and he said every actor comes with a gift, and it's my job to let that gift out, which I always stuck with me. But I think that's what Ben does. It's like, you're here. He hires the costume designer to do her job. He doesn't stand in the way of that. He doesn't get in the way of where Bob Richardson is putting the camera. He has ideas. So when an actor comes in with ideas on his sets, they're free to fly until he says, maybe a little bit to the left or to the right.
Day one on this one was the kind of big ensemble scene where we have the meeting.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about walking into that room and meeting with the ensemble that we just mentioned.
Yeah, so first day is the Nike scene, the big speech that Matt has, and of course you're really nervous. So Jason Bateman's off camera, and the camera's facing this way on Matt and me and the Jordans as we come in. And Chris Tucker's late to the meeting, and he's such a great actor, and he's so great at improvisation. And he kept going on for quite a while, and it was hysterical and it was fun. But I was standing like this. On camera, but kind of in the background. And so I didn't know what to do, so I started doing some actor business, and I looked at my watch. And Jason Bateman's off camera looking at me, and he goes, "Good. Good." And he starts directing me. "Why don't you fix your tie?" And so I fix my tie. He's like, "Slick your hair back." Good acting. That was my first take of the movie. I was like, this is a great bunch,
You were like, solid. We've nailed the
We're
characterization.
Cool. We're friends for life. I mean, another time, there's a moment where that could go wrong, where you'd be like, leave me alone, you're freaking me out. But it made me feel like, it's play. It's just play. We're all just playing around.
I mean, that is kind of why I asked the filmmaker question earlier, is like, that is the fun that can be had when everybody is so everybody knows what they're doing in such a way that you all have this strong foundation for these characters and these roles. And I actually have a question here from the president of Chris's fan club, who's the card carrying member.
Do I have one?
You can admit it.
Oh, my friend. What's up, man? We work together. We work together in the center. What's up, man? Thanks for coming tonight.
Well, one of the questions was, did you get to meet or talk to the real David Falk?
You know, I thought about doing that, and I felt like the right thing to do. But because Ben, and kind of going back to the hairline thing, he was very adamant about not doing an impersonation of him. So then I thought if I had talked to him, and everybody, as you can see in the movie, has a different idea about who named the shoe and how it all went down, that maybe I would get off of kind of the road I was on. So then, of course, when the movie came out, I was nervous that he'd hate me or call me up and scream at me. And but I had the utmost respect for the man. So I hope that he can feel that in the performance or knows that.
Listen, you haven't gotten the call yet, and all you've gotten is rave reviews. I mean, truly, every review has called out this performance as being a scene stealer, as being a showstopper. You know, what is it like to have that reaction? Like, what about the reaction to David Falk and this role has surprised you?
It's always nice to get, it's always nice when you have fun and you enjoy the project and the people that the audience somewhat cares. Because I've done a million things that I'd have to tie you all up to watch, So yeah, it's nice to be, it's what we're all looking for, right? To make some connection and, be seen. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful that this movie came out such a long time ago and we're still talking about it. And it's just it's great. These kind of opportunities don't come around. I know that. I've been doing this long enough. They don't come around for me all that much. So when they come around, I kind of, just cherish them.
We all very much enjoyed this performance, but I think, part of that as you just said, that this idea of, parts like these don't necessarily come around all that often, or that, you've talked a bit about how Ben tends to see you differently than sometimes other folks do. What is it like to have that in a filmmaker and have that collaboration where he sees that?
Yeah, I'm so lucky, In this town, if you do something halfway decent, they just want you to keep doing that over and over again. It's hard to break out of, I don't know, your box. I come from New York theater, and I was able to play all these incredible characters, and it's been harder to do that in film and television, and it's what was that thing that Lady Gaga said that whole time? What did she say?
There can be 100 people in a room and only one has to say yes, basically. I'm very much paraphrasing.
Something like that.
Yes.
Do you remember that? She said that. But she's right. She was right by saying that. It made complete sense. It's like this one guy, for whatever reason. I think it's because we're both from the East Coast and maybe we have a similar sense of humor. But for whatever reason, he keeps calling and believing in me. And it's, I just feel very lucky.
Back to the similar sense of humor, as we've talked about the improvisations with your phone acting with Matt, there is one very famous line that I don't think was necessarily written in the script, but might have just come out in one of those, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Which line are you referring to?
It's a line referring to, I guess we could call it food acting in the sense of chomping.
Oh, chomping, yes. I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but it did. I was looking for some great insult, and that seemed like the one. And most movies they wouldn't put that in. That's the great thing. Billy is editing you. It's like they're looking for this. I don't know, some truth, and they put it in, and it's. I'm glad it's there, but it's. I don't know what happened, but it just came out.
When you're going and kind of riffing like that and having to escalate that level of fight, what are you drawing from? Have you been just on the other end of some like crazy agent call at some point in time?
No, they're not to that degree. What I'm drawing from is Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, and the great we've all drawn from, in one way or another, the great Al Pacino as Ricky Roma. I mean, I watched that movie on repeat in preparing for this, and just the language in that movie and the way all of them, but specifically Pacino, eats the curses, you know. So that was something I was trying to steal from.
Was there anything else that you watched or kind of pulled from as you were building this character?
A lot of Glengarry. Yeah, I forget what else I watch. Probably tons of other stuff. I always like to watch, whenever I'm making a movie, I like to watch movies. I love to watch movies anyway, but yeah, there's always a performance that lights you up, you know.
What else is part of your process when it comes to that? I know reading books is a lot of it when you can. I know that, the Agassi book was helpful and based on a true story.
I like to memorize the lines very quickly. And I know sometimes there are, people that say, well, and I totally agree that you can just, you work on the character and the lines kind of seep in. However it works for you, but I like to know the language inside and out. I like to not be thinking about the language at all when I'm shooting. So that's something I always drill it. I drill it. And I like to drill it when I'm doing mundane things like, putting on the dog's, collar and leash and, whatever it may be, doing the dishes, doing something that has nothing to do with the lines. I think the goal is for us all not to be nervous or uptight and to be relaxed, right? So the more I know it, the freer I am on the day.
That's how you can riff on it, is if you kind of know how this person speaks and know what they're thinking and saying and, throw out tweaks. And at one point were your kids also your script readers early on?
Yeah, they were always my script readers. This was an interesting one to read with your kids. But they're so smart and they have good notes and they, they'll be like, that doesn't seem real, what you're doing right now. That's not good. But it was funny with this one. I was like, no, it's fuck that, fuck them. They'd be correcting me. If you walked by, you'd be like, what the hell's going on in the room there?
It has a good message about family. Listen,
yes. It's about self-worth, kids.
And that's also the kind of interesting thing about David as well is, I know Ben has talked about this a little bit, but he's so kind of big and this like loud character. But at the end of the day, he is also fighting for his client in a way that actually proved to be, Dolores really sealed the deal, but proved to be very important.
Yeah, at this time in David Falk's life, which is kind of in the movie and kind of not, but this deal was instrumental for him. He wasn't the David Falk that he became. And I think he knew how important Michael was. He knew how special Michael was. And he knew that if he could make this deal the way he made it, that it would and did change his life forever. I mean, change sports, change marketing. So he is a brilliant guy, but it was a lot at stake for him. There was also, which was in the script, there was a lot of fun to be had. So he was yelling at you and screaming at you, but he was enjoying it. He liked playing the part of this powerhouse. I thought that's what I got from it. That like he enjoys being a pain in the ass. And I think there were people that were scared when David Falk called, but then if you were his client, you were in love with him.
Thank goodness I have David Falk on my side. Exactly. I'll be okay. We have another question from Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Okay, so Christina, is Air the type of film that you have always been wanting to make? Because it does feel very different from what some of us, and Christina, I am with you, know you from, which is, drumroll please, the Mindy Project. Can you talk about, the space between your projects and when you feel unsure of where your career is headed? How do you kind of make those decisions about what to do, where to jump, what genres to move into?
Yeah, okay. That's a lot of questions. Let's see if I can get to all that.
We can take it in stages.
Yeah, I think Air is the type of movie that I, would love to watch. An adult dramedy, is it? I don't know. But it's it's like an actor's piece. In a way, Air's like a play a bit. You could really put that on stage. It's a lot of talking, and they're really in not a lot of locations. The Mindy Project, although was so much fun and I learned a ton about comedy, was like landing on Mars for me because I had done so many plays and wanted to be Al Pacino or Robert De Niro. And there I was on a Fox sitcom. Wasn't the plan. So yeah, I don't know how I had turned that down a bunch of times, and Mindy Kaling kept writing and changing the script, and each time she'd send a new draft that was better and better, and then I just took the leap of faith, and I had an amazing time. That group, I don't know if you've seen the Mindy Project, but that group was very funny, and they taught me tons about comedy. How I pick things, I think, it's just, I guess it's just, well, first of all, I pick things that come to me, which isn't a lot sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's dead. It has been dead. There have been times where I've been like, and there might be more, where I thought, I'm out. I'm out of this. There's no way. I don't want to do this anymore. But it's a great job to do. I mean, it's a great way to spend your life. It's a lot of sacrifice. We all know that. So a lot of times I'm picking what's available to me. I want to say, I think that in that regard, I would say the one thing that I might readjust moving forward or wish I had done differently is we all wait for them to cast us. And that's cool, and maybe we'll get lucky. But I think that doing it ourselves, like Matt and Ben, that's what we were talking about earlier, giving it to ourselves is really the move, and not waiting for them, waiting around for them. And maybe it comes. Maybe it hurls through the universe and lands on your lap. And I hope that for everyone here, that's the thing. But I think moving forward for myself, and just something I want to say, is that putting it into motion for you is the move. Is the move.
What is the thing that you want to put in motion for you? I mean, I know that you've been busy. You just wrapped up with Clint Eastwood, just a young upstart. He's
just me and Clint hanging out. Clint's 93, still going. He's amazing. He's incredible. What do I want to do? I want great roles. I want great writing. Great writing. Film and television has some great writing, but coming from New York theater, working on Arthur Miller or Ibsen or Chekhov, I want that. So my 2024 is in search of great writing and a character that has a beautiful built-in arc, where you can take somebody from a beginning, middle, and end. That's my hope.
What do you take with you from David? What did he add to your toolbox that you're going to take into that next character?
Well, David and I guess I didn't, I said we were from Long Island. He had to outwork everybody. And he didn't go to sleep, and and when he fell asleep, he woke up early in the morning and started again. And he really did. He outworked everybody. And for me, that's something that's very much a part of me. I'm good at some things. I'm not good at a lot of things with acting. And so I have to outwork anybody to kind of get the part that I want. But, that's the fun of it. That kind of drive, that kind of push. So that's where I'm headed. Try to outwork y'all.
Listen, I am in no way surprised that Ben, not just because he likes you and enjoys working with you, but thought of you for this role. I think everybody watching this performance can see all of the reasons why you were the perfect David Falk.
Very nice. Thank you for spending your Friday with me. I appreciate it.